Stories from around the corner.
And around the country.
You're listening to All the Best.
Proudly supported by the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
You're listening to All the Best from FBI Radio 94.5. I'm Kwame Slusher. This week, at All the Best, we're continuing with our picks of stories for 2025. But before we get into this week's stories, I want to acknowledge that I'm recording from stolen and Gadigal land, and pay my respect to Gadigal elders past and present, and also recognize that the area where FBI Radio is situated, Redfern, has long been a place of storytelling, strength, resistance, and resilience for First Nations communities. Last week at All the Best, we got the volunteers to share some of the stories that really stuck with them from 2025. I should be clear, we're not saying that these are the best stories, because all the stories that we play are poignant and beautiful in their own way. But the challenge for us was to pick one story that really resonated with us. In this episode, you get to hear the staff picks, but because there are only 3 of us, we kind of picked more than one. These are just excerpts of the stories, but I'll have links to the full stories in our show notes. So the first pick comes from me. My first pick comes from a storytelling event that we did with Read to Me in Green Square called Extraordinary Tales. And the storytelling event blends illustration with live storytelling and sound design. And I chose the story Cockroach because the storyteller Jin is just, he's a funny guy. And the story sort of really plays into this cockroach-inspired media of the 90s, which is really, really bizarre, but also strangely nostalgic. So here's Cockroach by Jin Hien Lau.
And then it happened, the click of the plastic case is followed by the sound of 1,000 little bug legs shuffling. A whole nest full of baby roaches swarmed out, blotting out the white Video Easy DVD case with their gross pale brown color, spreading themselves all over Kevin Chan's living room. What follows are the piercing shriek of Rohit, Pete stomping on roach-infested pizzas, and Kevin Chan yelling at me, telling me I'm banned from movie night forever. It was absolute chaos, but it was beautiful. The moment was transcendental to me. Actual roaches flying out of a movie about roaches. The poetry of life manifest. Or just an early prototype for 4DX cinema. This disgusting but frankly quite quotidian incident actually had a profound effect on my pursuit to become a storyteller. A pursuit to find the beauty in the mundane and even the ugly. And my obsession with roach narrative only kept growing from there too. Kafka's Metamorphosis is my favorite, always playing as the Zerg in StarCraft. Hell, I even sought out early releases of the Cockroaches, aka the Wiggles. We all know that, right? Like the Wiggles used to start out as the cockroaches. And staring at you, little guy, it's thanks to your ancestors that I realized my passion as a storyteller. And I want to weave a story where you, little roach on the escalator, you are the protagonist. Because frankly, you deserve...
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio 94.5, and I'm Kwame Slusher, and that was an excerpt of Cockroach produced by Jin Hien Lau, and the sound design was by Gregory Thorsby. Our next pick comes from Kat, or you might better know her as Katarina. And some context, her pick is the Audio Corpse, which comes from the concept of the Exquisite Corpse, which is a visual arts thing, I think from the surrealist movement. And it's all about a collaborative contribution to a painting, but each painter only gets to see a tiny snippet of the other person's painting, and so you don't know what the entire product is going to look like. So the Audio Corpse was just that, but for audio art pieces instead. And the idea came from one of our amazing audio makers, Cristina Marras. So here's Kat on why she chose this story.
I think what I really love about Audio Corpse is you really get to see people's love for particular styles. Audio Corpse was a 48-hour challenge that we ran through our audio club. So people had 48 hours to create an entire audio story. And the only prompt that they had was the last little bit of the previous person's story. So what ends up happening is this incredibly creative montage of different stories pieced together, all incredibly creative, all different voices, all different styles, and yet somehow cohesive.
And we continue our journey through the Italian regions with a nursery rhyme in Sardinian. Zizzigorru, boga tappu, boga gorru, boga tappu, kino bessis ticivappu. I think they'll do it. If you are listening to this recording, it means we did not survive. I started with the nursery rhyme because I know they only listen to the first seconds of the broadcast to ensure we are not trying to leave behind a message. But I don't kid myself. We are doomed. We lost all the time we had to push back, and we failed. There is no time left. I only hope you get this recording not too long after they capture us. This may be the last trace of our civilization. Whoever you are, listen. We fought until the end. They'll probably, certainly, tell you stories and claim that we were terrorists. But that's not true. We are just a group of people. We met during phase 1 of the takeover that led to the end of democracy as we knew it. Jesse started a pirate radio station. All the best. Initially just to connect people who opposed the regime but didn't know how to get organized. I ended up involved by chance. My code name is Communicate. With me were my son, whose code name is Radio Veller, and my partner, Radio Bitti. At first, the code names were just the names that we had given to our programs. But after phase 2 began, they became essential for protecting our identities when people started disappearing. Please be careful, because if someone enters right now and takes me away, anyone could sit behind this microphone and use it to deceive you in every possible way. Trust no one. No matter what you hear after this, trust no one. We have no time left. They're here. They're coming.
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio, and I'm Kwame Slusher, and that is an excerpt from the piece that kicked off the Exquisite Audio Corpse by Cristina Marras. Our next story is one from the Jesse Cox Audio Fellowship 2025. It's by Wing Kwong. It's called The Love Game, and it wasn't my pick, it was Mel's pick, our executive producer. But it holds a special place in my heart because it deals with those themes of immigration and just getting my citizenship. I'm well versed in the complexity of the different immigration processes. But here's Mel on why she picked this story.
One of my favourite pieces this year was The Love Game by Wing Kwong. I'm probably a bit biased because I saw this piece grow from inception as an idea that Wing wanted to make. all the way through to being broadcast. I saw it move through 7 versions of drafts. I saw it move through, slight differences of opinion to do with how to treat a bilingual story. But what I love about it is that it's playful and cheeky and fun, and the sound design just really evolved through the making of it. And the gamification just, I remember when Wing first sent through her draft that introduced that as a kind of anecdote or a framework. And I was like, wow, it's done it. It's done the thing.
But for Tom, the Shanghai trip was more than just meeting Shyla in person. In front of Shyla's family, Tom got down on his knee. Shyla said yes. But before the two lovebirds hosted their wedding, Tom first needed to figure out how to bring Shyla to Australia.
Because I knew she already wanted to move to Australia before meeting me, I wanted to make that quicker. And so, I did look into these kind of things myself out of curiosity. It wasn't something I knew about beforehand, but I did quite a lot of research into it. And so I stumbled into the 300 class visa, which I thought would be the best kind of way to go about it. I also read a lot of forums and stuff regarding this. It was honestly kind of scary because the amount of proof and stuff some people are providing seemed to be a lot. Some of them having not great experiences with that, waiting a really long time, over a year, multiple years. Was pretty nervous about it, but I mean, we have a genuine relationship, so I thought, why not?
In a way, Tom and Shyla were moving away from their VR games as they began playing a new real-life RPG, Australian Immigration. Joining them were another 5.9 million new players that year. They were in different scenarios with various goals, levels, and rules. Some had to prove they are the most desired workers. Some, like Tom and Shyla, had to prove their relationships were real. The criteria and rules for most visas in Australia change all the time. It makes them hard to understand and hard to access. But spouse visas, well, they mostly stay the same. For some, it's a more certain pathway to residency. Now you have access to the game. But to actually play it, you need to activate your characters, get the tools the characters need, then you can start the adventure. In the case of immigration, those are the materials you will need to submit to the immigration department, plus very high visa fees. In 2025, you will need a $9,000 application fee to play. To understand the immigration game, I did what Tom had done. I turned to Reddit and made a call out, asking people about their experience of preparing materials for their spouse visas. In less than a day, I got over 100 comments.
I had a friend who went through this process, and I was honestly surprised how far immigration crawls up your arse.
We were rejected the first time, appealed, and were rejected again.
Hundreds and hundreds of messages on Facebook and Viber, Skype log calls, financial support proof, photos, flights proof, all the stupid paperwork.
I gave them every single text. They definitely saw my penis.
Like we invited them and their partner over for dinner, and they asked us to take a photo together to prove to the government they have couple friends.
And then, absolute dead silence from the fuckers.
It was only after getting married, reapplying, and being married but in different countries for 6 years, that he was granted a visa.
To win the game, you need strategy. You need equipment. And in the world of immigration, the content of your materials is your weapon.
You're listening to All the Best, proudly sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales on FBI Radio 94.5. And I'm Kwame Slusher, and that story was produced by Wing Kwong. So I did say that we get multiple picks. So my second pick for the year is from an episode where we featured stories from small audio art. The project was started by Phoebe McIndoe, and the idea is that you tell a story based on an object in your home. My choice actually comes from someone who used to be the host of All the Best, Danny Stewart. And the story is called Window. And what I really loved about the story is how she built an entire parasocial relationship with a person she could see through her window that she had never, ever spoken to.
I first noticed the window when we were inspecting the apartment. The window was the kind of thing that's hard to miss when looking for faults with a potential rental. But the window was a minor problem compared to the problems I'd had with other apartments. And we were desperate, so we applied anyway and moved in. I was unpacking boxes of kitchen utensils when I first saw him. A man in the window staring back at me. The man who we would begin to call Shirtless Guy, because more often than not, he wasn't wearing a shirt. He had a scruffy beard, patchy chest hair, rounded, slumped shoulders, and an intense gaze. A gaze that wasn't focused on his sink as he washed up, but instead through the window into our apartment. When I stared back, I could see it all. His whole kitchen, his living room, most of his apartment, which meant, of course, he could see all of us. It felt uncomfortable, weirdly intimate, to see so much and to be seen so much by a stranger. So I rolled the blinds down, covering the sight of the window. This didn't last long. In the heat of Sydney summer, having all the windows open in the evening is essential to let the cool air in. The cool air made our blind go bang, bang, bang against the window frame. The noise bothered me more than the imposed intimacy with the shirtless guy. So I rolled the blind back up, and I got used to him being there with us. On January 28, another man appeared in the window holding flowers, which the shirtless guy, now wearing a shirt, placed in a vase. Was it his birthday? Graduation? Did someone die? I had no way of knowing. On February 4th, I watched him watch Drag Race for 7 hours straight. He seemed sadder than usual that day. I felt closer to him. February 20th was a hot day, the kind of day where the heat kicks you in the throat and makes everything smell worse. I was rushing to the train station, on the way to meet my friend's baby for the first time, when I saw a figure staring at me from across the street. At first I barely paid attention to it. Men stare at me on the street every day. But as I crossed the road, I realized it was him. I froze, unable to comprehend how he could exist outside the window. How could he be in the street? I wanted to talk to him, to ask his name, to ask what the flowers were for, but I turned away and picked up my pace, basically running in the other direction.
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio. I'm Kwame Slusher, and that was an excerpt of Window by Danny Stewart. Our final pick is the second one from Mel. And it's another one from the Jesse Cox Audio Fellowship. Just looking at the power of breathing. Here's Mel.
This story started out when Ben first pitched to the fellowship as a completely different idea. He had a kind of couple of story false starts in the making of this. And then, sort of turned his audio story in on himself and the time that he was going through. What you'll hear is him grappling with men's mental health, with toxic masculinity, and in trying to find a strategy that works.
And a content warning, there are a few swears in this story.
What Dr. Fisher said really landed with me. Maybe it's not about finding one solution and sticking to it, but being open to try a few and seeing what works. So I decided to try something different, something a little uncomfortable. But as I've recently learned, when it comes to the mountain of mental health, there's more than one way up.
Do you need a hand getting in, man?
I'll be alright to get in. I just need to pop these somewhere.
Cameron's the type of mate I think everyone needs. He's a bloke that radiates positive energy. Even when his car's smoking from the bonnet and the engine light turns on, still, nothing seems to faze him.
Yeah, oh, there it is, engine light. Temperature. Yeah, we heard you, but we're ignoring you. Thanks anyway, engine.
As I crutch my way to the community hall, I have this overwhelming feeling of nervousness and fear. Maybe it's because I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, or maybe it's because I'm stepping outside of my house. As soon as I enter the doors, I'm approached by this big, brawly-looking biker dude with hands like houses. He introduces himself to me as Dave, one of today's instructors, and he asks if I'd like a ceremonial beverage. Oh, is this ayahuasca? Unfortunately, it was not. It was raw cacao. It was warm, slightly gritty, like hot chocolate, only sadder. He points towards the open hall and tells me to choose a spot wherever I feel comfortable. And I had to laugh to myself because, as if any of this was going to be comfy. As I hobble my way through the hall hoping not to hack anyone's heels off, I look around and notice a lot of people. They've already chosen their space on the polished wooden floorboards, claimed by their multicoloured yoga mat separated only by a thin line of flickering fairy lights that had been sprawled out across the floor. Some in pairs, some sitting alone, legs crossed, backs straight. They seem loose, relaxed, like they've been here before. Meanwhile, I'm feeling like I'm the new kid in school all over again. No idea where to go or what to do. I feel as though all eyes are on me, silently judging me for being here. I find myself front and centre in the room, hovering over a vacant hot pink yoga mat. Now, pink's never really been my colour, but this spot was as good as any. I lower myself down, the lights dim, the room fades to black. Our silhouettes stretch across the hall. The music softens, the doors click shut, and a thick smell of incense fills the room. And through the misty cloud of burning sage, Cam appears.
Hello, everyone. Who's ready to do some breathing?
That's right. I'm here to breathe.
You're listening to All the Best on FBI Radio, and I'm Kwame Slusher, and that story was produced by Ben Haywood. And if you want to keep up with what's happening at All the Best, get a sense of what is happening behind the scenes, or you just want a bit of a wrap-up of our live events, just check out our Substack. I'll have a link for that in our show notes. And if you really enjoyed these excerpts, and you love audio stories, then keep listening to All the Best for unique stories from independent audio makers from so-called Sydney and around the country. Definitely catch our live broadcast on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. on FBI Radio 94.5. We also release a brand new episode every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on allthebestradio.com, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us now so you never miss an episode. All the Best is made at FBI Radio on Gadigal land in association with Sin and 3RRR on Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung and Boon Wurrung lands, and 8CCC on Arrente and Wurrumungu lands. The All the Best executive producer is Mel Bakewell. Katerina Fraga Matos is our events and partnerships coordinator. Patrick McKenzie is our community coordinator, and a special shout out to all the volunteers that helped to make All the Best possible. Shining Bird composed our theme music, and Annie Hamilton designed the artwork. We're heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network, and were made possible by the Art Gallery of New South Wales and the Community Broadcasting Foundation. You can find our full archive of more than 600 episodes on allthebestradio.com. I'm Kwame Slusher. Thank you so much for listening.